And now we return to local news with Malcolm.
Enfield Town's miserable away form continued on Saturday as they crashed to a 5-1 defeat at in-form Bognor Regis Town in the Ryman Premier Division. Steve Newing's men have still only picked up 1 point on their travels this season, and they were again made to pay for some dreadful defending as an Aaron Hopkinson goal and Ollie Pearce's double put Bognor in complete control by the interval. Corey Whiteley gave Town some hope by pulling one back early in the second half, but Terry Dodd struck twice to end any doubt over the result as the hosts claimed an emphatic triumph. It wasn't good at all, said manager Newing. Too many players were way off the pace, both defensively and attacking-wise. Bognor are the form team in the league, and we needed everyone to be performing well to have any chance of getting a result against them. Sadly, that wasn't the case. A lot of blame is being laid on our back four, and it's true that some of our defenders aren't playing anything like as well as I'd expect. But everyone needs to work harder. Defending starts from the front, and teams are finding it far too easy to play against us. We need to get in their faces and do the ugly side of football. Enfield Town host Billericay Town on Saturday, just gone, at 3 p.m.
Town. We'll see the ugly side of Enfield.
That's right.
Amateur footballers Jamie Smythe and Dippo Akinumi have been shortlisted for the first round of regional trials at Samsung's Win a Pro contract competition. Smythe, 19, is a defensive midfielder with Enfield, while 16-year-old winger Akinimi is from Edmonton. More than 5,700 players from across the country have entered the competition, with 3 winners being handed professional contracts at Swindon Town, Wycombe Wanderers or Leyton Orient. Smythe said, "I'm over the moon because I applied as a long shot. It sounded like a good scheme, so to get the email through was a surprise, but I'm looking forward to it. I don't see any reason why I can't go as far as the finals. I'm confident in my own ability." Akinimi added, "I'm really hoping I can get a contract. I'm on my top game at the moment, and I think I have a good chance. I have a lot of desire and really want to get signed."
A much changed Saracen side did enough to maintain their 100% record in the Aviva Premiership by beating Wasps 19-12 at Allianz Park on Saturday. With Sarries beginning their Heineken Cup campaign at Connacht on Friday, Director of Rugby Mark McCall chose to rest a number of key players as he made 11 changes to the side which had beaten Harlequins the previous week. Unsurprisingly, the hosts struggled to reproduce the same form they had shown in their opening 4 matches, but they were still proved too good for struggling Wasps, as a Will Fraser try, 3 penalties and a conversion from Owen Farrell, and as Alex Gould penalty gave them the win. "We didn't play brilliantly. I was actually quite pleased," said Director of Rugby Mark McCall. "Sometimes you have to dig in. Everybody wants to see lots of tries, but Wasps did a tremendous job. Wasps were defensively very good and really disrupted our maul. They get numbers in at the breakdown and go for the ball hard, and it was a terrific workout for us ahead of the Heineken Cup this week."
Enfield Ignatians threw away a 10-point lead against Holt as the Norfolk club stormed back in the final quarter to beat Emil Hertz's side 34-20 in London 2 North East. The first half was an even contest, but Ignatians trailed 10-7 at the interval. Tan Mbonu crossed for Enfield with Jordan Wilson on target with the boot. Ignatians piled on the pressure in the second period and were rewarded with a second try from winger Mbonu. Wilson again added the extras. The depleted Blue and Gold's most effective attacking weapon was then forced off after he pulled a calf muscle. Mbonu's injury blunted Ignatians, but Wilson also added 2 penalties, and the visitors led 20-10 with 20 minutes to go. At this point, Enfield was sensing victory against a side which are notoriously hard to beat at home. But poor defence and mistakes led the forward-orientated Holt back in the game. The Norfolk side added 24 points, including a last-minute try, to give the final score a slightly flattering look.
A suspected burglar led police chasing him to an unlikely hiding place, a graveyard. Aubrey Francis, 44, of no fixed address, was charged with 2 counts of burglary and 2 counts of Class A drug possession after being arrested in Edmonton Cemetery last Saturday. The first burglary took place at a home in Washbourne Court in Acton Close, Edmonton, on September the 20th. The victim went out at 11:45 a.m., leaving a bedroom window ajar. Returning at 6 p.m., the woman discovered her home had been burgled. In the second burglary in Church Street, Edmonton, on September the 26th, the victim went out at 9:20 a.m. and returned at 6 p.m. to find jewellery had been stolen. Mr. Francis was arrested after riding past police close to the scene of the second burglary. When the officers chased him, they found him hiding in Edmonton Cemetery in Church Street.
Disagreements over parking restrictions have divided neighbours in a Southgate street. Many people at the west end of Chelmsford Road want a controlled parking zone, CPZ, which would stop commuters leaving their cars in the road all day without being charged. But those living in the centre and at the east of the street are opposed to it. Now a reversal of Enfield Borough Council's plans to divide the street has those residents left without spaces by commuters feeling disregarded. Leslie McCloymont, who lives at the west end of the street, which leads into Chase Side, said, "This road is like no other. It has all sorts of housing down it, and the level of traffic is completely different at each end. Our side gets so much traffic and parking, it's ridiculous, and this is the only road round here that still has free parking all day, and it's being exploited by commuters, leaving us with very little parking." After splitting the road into 3 sections, 81% of West Chelmsford Road voted in favour of a CPZ. However, Middle and East Chelmsford Road voted against it, leading the council to scrap the split and turn down the CPZ for the west side, leaving Ms. McClymont incensed. She said it was obvious that we had a clear majority of 81% in our area of the road, yet the council have completely disregarded this, and we're still stuck with commuters parking in our section of the road all day long. It's scandalous. But Aydin Aziz, 60, who lives on the east side, thinks a CPZ would only cause greater problems. He said, "To be honest, I think that this would cause a lot more issues in the road than solve. If you see down this end of the road, there's plenty of empty spaces where people can park. I can understand where they're coming from, but I can't see how this will help the majority of the road." An Enfield Council spokesman said, "The council has undertaken extensive consultation in Chelmsford Road and the surrounding streets about a possible controlled parking zone to help residents park close to their homes. The most recent stage of consultation suggested that a CPZ was not supported in the area as a whole, although there was support from residents living in the western end of Chelmsford Road and a short section of Chase Road. The council has considered whether to implement a CPZ in just these 2 areas, but is mindful that this could potentially make the parking situation worse for residents in the rest of the area. On balance, given the lack of support across the whole of the affected area, the council has decided not to proceed with a CPZ."
Now this is an article about remembering Alwyn Mills. In January 1928, Archibald and Sarah Mills moved with their 3 children, Margaret, Mahanui and Harold, from Stanmore to the Clockhouse Nursery in Enfield. In April of that year, Alwyn was born. In due course, he studied building at Tottenham Technical College, and on leaving school he worked for his parents in the nursery unit until it was time for his national service. He served with the Household Cavalry, driving an armoured car in Palestine, followed by a posting to guard duty at Windsor Castle. Following demobilisation, he returned to work in the nursery and on the stall in Enfield Town Market. He met his future wife, Pauline, at a dance at St Paul's, Winchmore Hill, and 3 years later they became engaged. Typical of his work ethos, he worked on the market until noon, nipped home for a quick wash and change, and they were married at 2 p.m. Oh, my word! On August 11th, 1956. Goodness me. This would set the tone for the future, always working until the very last minute. In due course, they started a family, first Jane, then Richard, then David. Following his father's demise in 1969, Alwyn put even more effort into the nursery, replacing old greenhouses, expanding all the time, and building a large customer base, serving everything from cut flowers to tomatoes, trees, and bedding plants. Eventually, managing to take holidays, the family first took breaks in England. Alwyn and Pauline particularly liked Cyprus, and they returned there many, many times. His other great pleasure was animals, having many dogs over his lifetime, along with goats, ducks, and even feeding the foxes and pheasants. As arthritis set in, he continued to work, but now had to ride a bike around the nursery to save his knees. Even when he had to switch to an electric scooter, he didn't give up, leaning on a walking stick with one hand, with a hosepipe in the other. Eventually he was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. Having to give up the scooter for a wheelchair, he battled in any way, never being one to give up. David Mills recollects that his father had a cheerful disposition, was very competitive, but in victory he was very modest, in no way materialistic, and always very generous, particularly to his favourite animal charities, or if someone were genuinely down on their luck, but he wouldn't suffer fools. Supported by my mum, he built a solid business through hard graft and determination. He did this for the right reasons, not greed, but to raise the family and to provide for the future, which he did exceptionally well. Alwyn William Powell Mills passed peacefully at home in the very room in which he was born in September the 15th. I think we've lost the other bit.
On the 27th of October, they're going to have a history and mystery walk at Trent Country Park. Meeting at 10 a.m. on outside the Trent Park Cafe, the main car park, by the Cockfosters Road entrance. Alan Mitterless will lead a fascinating park walking tour, talking about the World War II prisoner of war camp, the mystery of Camlet Moat, and historical secrets. Walks are no more than 3 miles, probably finishing around 12:30. Clearly wear comfortable footwear. There's no need to book, and it's free. Enfield Vision are offering IT learning sessions for Enfield residents that have a visual impairment. The IT learning project is funded by Enfield Council, and there is no cost to the learner. So for more information on that, either go to the website www.enfieldvision.org.uk or email information@enfieldvision.org.uk or phone 0208 351 7259. And just 2 other items. Just a reminder about the Enfield Over 50s Forum, which meets every Monday 10 till 12 at the Dugdale Centre, Thomas Hardy House, London Road, Enfield. They have the services of a solicitor, income tax and citizens advice bureau who attend. And there's every first Sunday of a month, Enfield Island has a village market, which is located around the piazza, EN3 6GS. And there's fresh hot food, arts and craft, fresh produce, face painting, and much more.
Volunteers in Enfield are helping children learn to read to reduce poor literacy levels, and the charity that organised it is hoping to recruit additional helpers to give more children the gift of reading. 1 in 8 pupils moving from primary to secondary school in Enfield cannot read to the required standard, and Charity Beanstalk is appealing for volunteers to help teach them. One school that has taken on volunteers is Galliard Primary School in Galliard Road, where volunteers, including Christina Amamoto of Lombard Avenue, Enfield, and Harry Richardson of the Vale, Enfield, spend half an hour each week playing games and activities. Mayor of Enfield, Councillor Chowdhury Anwar, who met some of the helpers, said, "It's vital that we support children with their reading, as this will enable them to acquire more knowledge." Harriet Watson, Beanstalk's Area Relationship Executive for London North West, said, "Seeing a child grow in confidence because of your intervention is terrifically rewarding." The charity, which works on reading projects with Enfield Residents' Priority Fund, is looking to recruit 50 volunteers before Christmas and aims to reach out to more than 18,000 children.
Excuse me. These are 2 letters. This first letter is from B. Kendall of Vickersmoor Lane, Winchmore Hill. "Whenever I want to buy some material, I have to go on 2 buses, either to Edmonton or Holloway. As both these shops are always busy, how about a dress fabric shop in Enfield? It shouldn't be necessary to take the car when you only want to buy a few metres of fabric." Oh, sounds like a good idea. And the other letter I have here is from Councillor John Kay, who is a Shadow Cabinet member for Schools and Children's Services. "Enfield Borough Council has received an additional £25 million towards its schools expansion programme thanks to the Conservative-led government. Despite the pressures on spending taxpayers' money, Michael Gove has recognised Enfield's children and their parents badly need school places in the borough. The Labour Council doesn't want to get caught out with not planning ahead as it did in 2010-11. I'm sure it's just a question of time before Enfield's Labour Council sends a thank you letter to the Secretary of State for Education, unless it gets lost in the post." It's rather a biased letter, isn't it?
Leading independent estate agent Bennett Walden is proud to be a member of the prestigious Guild of Professional Estate Agents. The Guild is a nationwide network of 750 leading estate agents, all dedicated to maintaining the very highest standards of professionalism and customer service. Guild membership is traditionally only granted to 1 agent per area. This status means that Bennett Walden has been judged to have met or exceeded the Guild's exacting membership criteria and, in recognition of this achievement, has been selected as its sole representative in Palmer's Green and Southgate. Since joining the Guild in September, we are absolutely delighted to represent the network in Palmer's Green and Southgate, says Mark Brinkley, Director. It is a tribute to all the hard work and investment in building our reputation for high-quality professional service, and it underlines our position as the leading estate agent in the area. Speaking on behalf of the Guild, CD Marcus Wherewell says, "We are pleased and proud to have Bennett Walden as a member of the Guild in Palmer's Green and Southgate. Their excellent reputation and focus on outstanding service mean that they have become an important and valued asset to our organisation. However, Guild membership is more than just a badge of quality and professionalism," Mark adds. "Belonging to the UK's leading network of independent estate agents is also great news for our clients. For local homeowners looking to sell, instructing a Guild agent means outstanding and innovative marketing, and also access to the widest possible pool of buyers, not just in Palmer's Green and Southgate, but across the whole country, and more buyers mean the best price for your home. The Guild makes available to its members a unique portfolio of marketing services, including a range of high-quality, full-colour leaflets, brochures and other sales material. An exclusive 6-weekly property magazine distributed nationwide through the Guild network. Internet marketing to a worldwide audience via the Guild's own highly rated property, www.guildproperty.co.uk. A countrywide referral network linking Guild members together with hundreds of other agents across the country and generating thousands of inquiries every year.
An MP has given his backing to a new campaign aiming to cut alcohol abuse by stopping the sale of super-strength drinks. Enfield Southgate MP David Burrows attended Chase Farm Hospital's Accident and Emergency Department in the Ridgeway, Enfield, to launch the Reduce the Strength campaign. The scheme will tackle the availability of high-strength ciders and lagers, such as white cider, which at 7.5% alcohol by volume is sold cheaper than bottled water. A 3-litre plastic bottle contains 22.5 units of alcohol, greater than the maximum recommended weekly intake. Some 13,371 people in the borough, more than 8% of adults, are identified as being high-risk drinkers, with around 33,880 as estimate at being at risk of joining them. Alcohol abuse is estimated to cost hospitals in Enfield £18.8 million, equating to £82 per person per year. Implemented first in Ipswich, the scheme cut the number of street drinking incidents by 50% in the past year in their area. Mr. Burrows said, "I have been impressed by the Reduce the Strength campaign led by Suffolk Police in Ipswich, which has the aim of reducing antisocial behaviour caused, in particular, by street drinking. It involves explaining the harm caused by high-strength beer and cider and the benefits of reduced antisocial behaviour, resulting from ending sales to retailers of alcohol above 5% alcohol in an attempt to stop them stocking the products." 6 months after the start of the voluntary campaign in September 2012, 2/3 of the town's 122 licensed retailers had removed strong beers and ciders from their shelves. "I believe we could use some of the ideas and practices learned from the Ipswich campaign in Enfield to spearhead a coordinated effort that could potentially have a significant impact for the borough."
Thousands of secondary school pupils are heading to the ballot box as voting gets underway in the Enfield Youth Parliament elections. The ballot, which started on Monday and continues until next Thursday, will see pupils at 15 secondary schools aged between 11 and 19 and up to 25 for disabled young people elect 16 new members to the Parliament. The elections are administered by Enfield Council, which is expecting a high turnout, and the borough has been carved into 4 constituencies: Chase, Edmonton, Enfield Lock and Southgate, with a total of 27 candidates standing. The youthful politicians will meet 6 times a year. They'll be elected for a 2-year term and will wield considerable influence. Members of the Youth Parliament regularly attend the Council's Children and Young People Scrutiny Panel, as well as the Children's Trust Board, and are asked to present to a full Council meeting. Donnie Jones, who has been chairman of the Enfield Youth Parliament for the past 2 years, told the Advertiser, "It's a great opportunity for young people to do something positive and gain skills. The support from the Council has been overwhelming, and councillors often wanted our opinions on issues." Jordan Dean, 13, a Year 9 student at Edmonton County School in Great Cambridge Road, said he got involved in organising the elections. He got involved in organising the elections at his school because he thought they could bring about positive change. "It's quite difficult to be a young person these days, and there are lots of bad stereotypes young people face," he said. "The elections show we're not all troublemakers or involved in gang crime, as the media often portrays young people. We like to get involved and make a change." In 2011, when the elections were first held, 9,000 votes were cast. Next Thursday, volunteers will count the votes, overseen by an election manager from the council at the Civic Centre in Silver Street, Enfield. Election night will be on Friday, starting at 6 p.m, and the results will be announced by Aoife Oren, Cabinet Member for Children and Young People. She said, "This is a great opportunity for young people to take part in a democratic process. All the candidates deserve our praise for working so hard for their generation."
Childhood friends Johnny Morton and Darren Norris have been reunited at Chicken Shed for a Russian farce featuring corrupt officials and biting satire. The dynamic duo first met aged 8 when Darren starred at the theatre as Bugsy Malone to Johnny's Fat Sam, and they've been best friends ever since. Now they're back at the Southgate venue for a more grown-up but equally madcap farce. Based on Nikolai Gogol's 1836 play The Government Inspector, the play is set in a small Russian town in the 1800s and shows the panic that unfolds when a group of money-grabbing officials learn a government inspector is being dispatched to investigate dealings. But things truly begin to spiral out of control when a bad case of mistaken identity strikes and the mayor fumbles around trying to control the situation. Darren, who studied Russian at university, has translated the play for a contemporary audience, and Johnny had the task of getting his 13-strong cast to master the tongue-twisting Russian names and flamboyant nature of farce. Johnny says, we're trying to make Russian comedy funny, which is very funny. We haven't modernised it. We've changed little bits to appeal to a contemporary audience and younger people, but the basic premise and thrust of the mistaken identity, which is there all the way through, and the fact that all these characters are deceitful, is there. He adds the brilliance of Gogol is that you don't have any real sympathy for any of the characters. You don't hate them, but you know they all deserve it in the end, and you enjoy that journey. The 46-year-old adds, I think it's relevant because we still have that local government attitude of, if you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. It's interesting that society is still pretty much the same, even when Shakespeare was still learning the messages and in Greek tragedy. The human condition of greed or corruption or love or lust is still fundamentally the same. We've had all these lessons learnt, but we still make the same mistakes. So there have been Greek tragedies, or have there been any Greek tragedies or Shakespearean dramas off stage? Well, we haven't had a row yet, says Johnny. Darren's been coming to rehearsals, which is great, as he has a real understanding of Russian comedy. I could probably go quite crazy with it, but he's kept us respectful to what Gogol intended.
We've reached the end of our programme for this week. Thank you for listening. So from the team of Audrey, Elizabeth, Malcolm, Francis and Dave on the controls, it's
goodbye.
Bye.